Alright, good day student. Today you will be learning about the secret of 0, 1 and the -1. So before we start to know what is the secret, let us begin with 0 and then let us select a number n to represent our concept today. The number n can be positive or negative numbers. So the first thing you have to know about 0, the secret you have to know about 0 is when a number n is multiplied by 0, the result is 0. That is the first thing. So when a number or a variable is multiplied by 0, the result is equals to what? 0. For example, as you can see, 2 multiplied by 0, the result is equals to 0. 16 multiplied by 0, the result is equals to 0. This is also true for variables. You know what is variables? We use variables in algebra to represent unknown number, missing number. So in this case, we make example here using y. As you can see, y multiplied by 0 will give us 0, and z multiplied by 0 will also give us 0. So this is the first thing you have to know about 0. So let's go to the second thing you have to know about 0. So the second thing you have to know about 0 is when a 0 is divided by a number, the result is equals to 0. When a 0 is divided by a number, the result is equals to 0. The second thing to know. When a 0, I use this is 0, is divided by a number, the result is equals to 0. So when a 0 is divided by a number, the result is equals to 0. So see the example. So the first example is 0 divided by 6. So when 0 is divided by 6, the result is equals to 0. So the second example is 0 divided by -14. The result is equals to 0. This is true. This is also true for variables. Example, 0 divided by y is equals to 0. 0 divided by x is equals to 0. So this is the second secret you have to know about 0 as long as mathematics number is concerned. So let's look at the third secret which you have to understand concerning 0. So the next secret is when a number is divided by 0, the result is indeterminate, is undefined. It's as same to say it is indeterminate, which means it cannot be found. So the third thing you have to know is when a number n is divided by 0, when it is divided by 0, the result is indeterminate. So when a number n is divided by 0, the result is what? Indeterminate. Another word to say indeterminate is undefined. So this is another word you can use to say that the result is indeterminate. So example is the example we have is 12 divided by 0. We have indeterminate result. We have what? Indeterminate result, which means it is undefined. So the second example is dividing it by 1000 or 10,000. The result is what? Indeterminate. So this is also true for variable. It's also true for all variables. Example, y divided by 0 is equals to what? Indeterminate. So that is one of examples to illustrate that when a number is divided by 0, the result is what? Indeterminate. So let's look at the fourth thing you have to know about 0. The next thing you have to understand about 0 is adding 0 to a number or number to a 0 is equals to what? Is equal to the number. Adding 0 to a number or number to a 0, the result is equals to the what? The number. In this case, number n. And n can be positive or negative number. So the fourth thing to know is adding 0 to a number, in this case number n, or adding a number n to 0, the result is equals to the number. So that is it. So if you read the statement or the sentence, you will understand it. Adding 0 to a number or adding a number to a 0, the result is equals to what? Equals to the number. So example 1, you see 12 plus 0. In this case, we are adding a number to a 0. In this case, we are adding a number to a 0. The result is equals to what? The number. 12 plus 0 is equals to 12. So the second example, 0 plus 14 is equals to 14. So adding a number to a 0 or adding 0 to a number, the result is equals to the number. So this is the fourth thing the secret you have to know about 0 in mathematics, even in real life, because when you add nothing to something, you still get that something. So it is also in real life, it also has some effect. So the effect is that the something remain constant. It doesn't change. So let's look at the 5th things or the secret you have to know about 0. So the 5th is subtracting 0 from a number is equals to what? Is equals to the number. Subtracting 0 from a number So the fifth one, subtracting 0 from a number equals the number, equals the number. So this is the fifth thing you have to know. Subtracting 0 from a number equals what? Equals the number. So let's look at it. Some example. So example 1, 23 minus 0. In this case, we are subtracting 0 from 23. The result is equals to what? 23. So I hope it surprised you if you haven't known about this concept. So another one is 46 minus 0 is equals to 46. So subtracting 0 from a number equals what? Equals the number. And this is also true for variables. This is also true for variables. So example, in this case we have x minus 0 is equals to x. So y minus 0 is equals to y. So this is the 5 things you have to know, or the secret relating to 0. So let's look at the 6 things, or the secret you have to understand pertaining what? Pertaining 0 under our study today. The 6th is subtracting a number from a 0 equals the negative value of the number. Subtracting a number from a 0 equals what? The negative value of the number. So the 6th one, subtracting a number, in this case the number we are subtracting is n. It can be positive. Subtracting a number, in this case subtracting a number n, where n is equals to what? Positive. So subtracting a number in this case where n is equals to positive. The 5th as well, when n is equals to positive. So because if you say, you have to give a condition in this case, and the 5th one when n is equals to positive. So subtracting a number, in this case n is equals to positive number from 0 is equals to what? Is equals to negative value of the number. So subtracting a number, in this case the number is positive number, from 0 is equals to negative value of the number. So example, we have 0 minus 77. So we have what? Minus 77. Is it not? Based on the sentence. 0 minus 77, we have what? Minus 77. That is the negative value of the number. Again, 0 minus 98 is equals to minus what? 98. And this is true for variables. So example, 0 minus x is equals to minus x. 0 minus y is equals to minus y. So such concept also obey the laws of variable. So if you don't have any question, we go on to the next thing we have today. So we are done with 0. Let's go to 1. I can click here. So the next thing is 1. So what do we know about 1? In our school, in our primary school, in the secondary school, university, or through our study of mathematics or numbers, what do you understand relating to 1? So in this case, we choose 1 and n be our number. So n here is equals to positive or negative number. So the first thing you have to know about 1 is when a number is multiplied by 1 or 1 is multiplied to a number, the result is the number. When a number is multiplied by 1 or 1 is multiplied to the number, so you can read the statement or the sentence. When a number is multiplied by 1 or 1 multiplied to a number, the result is what is the number. So this is always magic if you haven't known this before. So let's look at the example. For example, 16 multiplying by 1 will give us 16. So if you look at this sentence, you see that is correct. When a number, in this case the number we choose is n, it can be positive, it can be negative number, is multiplied by 1 or 1 is multiplied by a number, the result is the number. So example, 16 is the number multiplying 1, so we have 16. Again, 1 multiplying a number, 352 in this case, we have what? 352. So this concept is also true for variables. For example, y multiplied by 1 will give us y. Z multiplied by 1 will give us z. So either way, if you are solving algebra and you are using variables, you will also understand that whenever a variable is multiplied by 1 or 1 multiplying a variable, the result is equals to the number, the variable, or the variable. So this is the first thing you have to know about 1. So let's look at the second thing relating to 1. So the second thing you have to know about 1 is when 1 is divided by a number, the result equals to the reciprocal of the number. Second thing to know, when 1 is divided by a number, the result equals the reciprocal of the number. So if you read the sentence, you will understand it. Dividing 1 by a number is equals to the reciprocal of the number. So example, so the first example is 1 divided by 12 is equals to 1 over 12. So that is it, what the sentence means. Dividing a number dividing 1 by a number is equals to the reciprocal of the number. So 1 divided by 2 over 3. It must not be a whole number or integer, it can be a rational number, as you have seen. So 1 divided by 2 over 3 is equals to the reciprocal of this number, which is what, 3 over 2. So this is true for variables. Example, 1 divided by y is equals to the reciprocal of y. So 1 divided by y over z is equals to z over y, the reciprocal of the number. So you can read this sentence again. When 1 is divided by a number, the result equals the reciprocal of the number. So you have to know this, because when you are solving a real life algebra or other problem involving a fraction, many students find this area very difficult. So just once you know it, you have already know it. So let's look at the third secret you have to third secret you have to know about 1. So the third secret is when a number is divided by 1, the result is equal to the number. Third secret: when a number is divided by 1, this is 1, the result equals the number. So example, we have here example 1. 13 divided by 1 is equals to 13. So you should be knowing the difference between consecutive sections we have treated. That will enable you compare the difference between them. The other one, 2, we talk about 1 divided by a number. In this case, we are talking about number divided by 1. So when a number is divided by 1, the result equals the number. 13 divided by 1 is equals to 13. So 125 divided by 1 is equals to 125. This is true for variables. So it's also true for variables. For example, x divided by 1 is equals to x. Y divided by 1, y over z divided by 1 is equals to y over z. So you have to know the difference so that you don't find the reciprocal. When number itself is being divided by 1, you don't need to find the reciprocal. The result is equals to the number. So fractions, rational numbers, irrational numbers, all these are also numbers, not always a whole number or integer. Fraction is also a number. So let's look at the fourth thing you have to know about 1. The fourth thing you have to know about 1: adding 1 to a number or a number to 1 increases the value of the number by 1. Adding 1 to a number or a number to 1 increases the value of the number by 1. So this is the fourth thing you have to know about 1. The secret you have to know about 1. Adding 1 to a number or a number adding 1 to a number or a number to 1 increases the value of the number by 1. So you can read this sentence again. Adding 1 to a number or a number to 1 increases the value of the number by 1. In this case, n is equals to positive number. Our n is equals to positive number, because if it is negative, it will not increase it. We'll come to that in the next question, in the next number. That is, we are 4 here, the next is 5. So let's look at the examples. You have 126 plus 1 is equals to 127. So when you add a 1 to a number or number to 1, it increases the number by 1. That is, 126 plus 1 will give us 127. 1000 plus 1 will give us 1001. So that is it. This is also true for, it is also true for what? For variables. This is true for variables. So for example, if you have x plus 1, this is equals to x plus 1. It will increase it by 1. Y plus 1 is equals to y plus 1. So this is the first secret of number 1 you have to know in mathematics or numbers. This will help you a lot when you are solving problems in algebra, in factorization, other areas of mathematics, arithmetic and algebra. So even in statistics, so in numbers or in mathematics, 1 is an indispensable number. You have to know its properties. So the next is the fifth one. Subtracting 1 from a number. When you subtract 1 from a number, decreases the number by 1. When you subtract 1 from a number, it do what? It decreases the number by 1. So let's that is the fifth one. Subtracting a 1 from a number equals to decreases the number by 1. The result is equals to what? Is equals to decrease of the number by 1 multiplied by minus 1. So the fifth one you have to know about 1 is subtracting 1 from a number equals decrease of the number by 1 equals what? Sorry. When a 1 is, if you subtract a number, if you subtract 1, sorry, subtracting 1 from a number, we have done what? Subtracting number from 1. So we have done what? Subtracting 1 from a number is equals to what? Is equals to the product, is equals to the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and the what? Minus 1. So so this is for when n is equals to minus, is a negative number. If n is a negative number, this statement is correct. Subtracting 1 from a number equals what? Equals the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and what? Minus 1. In this case, n is equals to negative number. So look at the example for clarification. So the example is minus 125 plus 1. Minus 125 minus 1. Subtracting 1 from a number equals to the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and minus 1. So this will be equal to what? The product of the decrease of the number by 1. If the number decreases by 1, it will be 125 minus 1 and what? Minus 1. Read the statement again. Subtracting 1 from a number equals to the product of the decrease of the number by 1. The number decreases by 1 and what? Minus 1. So the product, and this will give us what? 125 minus 1 will give us 124 times minus 1, and this will give us what? Minus 124. So that is it. When n is equals to negative number. So the second, let's give another example. Let's do what? Give another example. Another example is minus, in this case, minus 9 minus 1. So this is equals to the decrease of the number by 1, which is 9 minus 1, and the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and what? Minus 1. So this will give us 9 minus 1 will give us 8. 8 times minus 1 will give us minus 8. So this is the 15 you have to know about. 15 you have to know about what? About 1. In this case, the 1 is minus 1, but we will come to other areas. So look at the 16 you have to know about what? 1. This is true for variable as well. So it is also true for variable. So if the number is negative, that is n is equals to negative number, as I have stated. For variables, you now have what? Minus x, which is variable, minus 1, and this is equals to the product of the decrease of the number of variable, s minus 1 and what? Minus 1. So this will give us minus in bracket s minus 1. So the statement is also true for variables. Let's look at the sixth one. What you know about 1. It is very important. So we get a problem involving 1, it will be easy for you to know what to do, because looking at 1 and looking at the equation, sometimes we neglect that 1 has many properties you have to obey, and so we take it for granted. At the end of it, we fail the question pertaining 1. So look at this sixth one. Subtracting 1 from a number. So let's look at the fifth one. Subtracting 1 from a number decreases the number by 1. I've already done that. Subtracting 1 from a number decreases the number by 1. In this case, n is equals to positive number. So look at the example. Example is, let's look at the first example. 122 minus 1 is equals to 121. So subtracting 1 from a number will do what? We decrease the number by 1. So the second example is 79 minus 1 will give us 78. This is true for variables. So it is also true for variables. s minus 1 is equals to s minus 1. So y minus 1 is equals to y minus 1. So do you understand it? So this is the 6 properties of 1, or the secret concerning 1 you have to know. If you have been following up to this extent, you might have learned many things relating to 1, 0. Already we have done it. So, and then we are going to do what? Minus 1. So that at the end of the lecture, you'll be able to understand the properties, things concept relating to 0, 1 and the minus 1. So let's look at the 7th one. Subtracting a number from 1. Subtracting a number from 1 equals the number equals to decrease of the number by 1 and multiply the final result by minus 1. So the 7th is subtracting a number from 1 equals to the decrease of the number by 1 and multiply the result and multiply the final result by what? Minus 1. So example in this case is 1 minus 120 is equals to the decrease of the number by 1, that is 120 minus 1, and multiply the result we got by minus 1. So this will give us 120 minus 1 will give us 119. Multiplying the result by minus 1, you have what? Your final result will be what? Minus 119. So that is it. Subtracting a number from 1, when your number is subtracted from 1, equals to the decrease of the number by 1 and multiply the final result by minus 1. So look at this, the next one. Look at another example. 1 minus 29 is the decrease of the number by 1, which is 29 minus 1. You multiply the result by minus 1. So 29 minus 1 is 28. Multiplying minus 1 will give us minus what? 28. So this is the secret you have to know about. Secret you have to know about 1. So the last thing you have to know pertaining 1, this is true when n we treated is equals to positive number. If n is positive number, this is true. So in this case, subtracting n which is positive from 1, the result is equals to what? The decrease equal to the decrease of the number by 1 and multiply the final result by minus 1. Let's look at this is true also for variables. This is also true for variables. For example, 1 minus y is equals to y minus 1 multiplied by minus 1. And this will give us minus in bracket y minus 1. So let's look at the 8th one. a secret you have to know about number 1 before we move into the next, which is 1, which is minus what? Minus 1. So the 80th one, the 8 is subtracting a number from 1. In this case, when the number is what? Negative number. Subtracting a number n, in this case negative number, subtracting a number n which is a negative number from 1 equals what? Equals the addition of 1 and the number. So subtracting a number, in this case the number is a negative number, from 1 equals the addition of the 1, addition of 1 and the number. So for example here we have 1 minus 24. So we're subtracting a number from 1, and that number is a negative. So it is equals to what? Addition of 1 and the number, which is 1 plus 24. And this gives us what? 25. So the next is what? Another example, 1 minus 1 over 2 is equals to 1 plus what? 1 over 2. And this is equals to 2 times 1, 2 plus 1, 3 over 2. So the number must not be what? Must not be a whole number or integer. It can be a rational number, fraction. So this is for 1. This is also true for what? Variables. For example, 1 minus z, this is equals to 1 plus z. So it is also true for variable. So having learned up to this extent, you have known the secret between 0 and 1, and it will govern you in solving problems in mathematics whenever 0 and 1 arises. So let's look at the last one we have, which is what? Which is minus 1. In this case, when a number, in this case minus 1, when a number is multiplied by minus 1, or minus 1 is multiplied to a number, the result equals the number, but its sign changes. So the first thing you should know about minus 1 is when a number is multiplied by minus 1, or minus 1 is multiplied to a number So you can read the statement: when a number is multiplied by minus 1, or minus 1 is multiplied to a number, the result equals what? Equals the number. But its sign change. So you can read the sentence again. So when a number is multiplied by minus 1, or minus 1 is multiplied to a number, the result equals the number but its sign changed. So example, in this case, I have minus 1 multiplying 23. See that 23 is plus 23. The result is equals to minus 23. So it is equal to the number, but its sign changed. So it's equals to the number, but in this case, it is no longer plus; it is minus. In this case, our n is equals to the number n is equals to positive number. Our n is equals to what? Positive number. So our n is equals to what? Positive number. Another example is minus 24 multiplying to minus 1. The result is equals to what? Plus 24. You can read the sentence again. In this case, we have minus 24 multiplying minus 1. It is equal to the number, but in this case, the sign changes. It is minus, it's no longer minus, it's plus when it's minus 1. When a number is multiplied by minus 1, or minus 1 is multiplied to a number, the result equals to the number, but its sign changed. So in this case, it can be n can also be negative number. So either negative or positive number, the sign will change, but it's equal to the number. This is also true for variables. True for variables. So for example, minus 1 multiplying plus or minus q. The result in this case is q. We know that is q, but there's plus here, so the plus will change to minus. There's minus here, the minus here will change to plus. So you understand it? So true for variables, minus 1 multiplying plus or minus q is equals to minus plus q. The sign will change, but the result is equal to the variable, or is equal to the number. So minus 24 multiplying minus 1 is equals to plus 24. So this is one thing you have to, the secret you have to know about minus 1. Let's look at the second thing you have to know about minus 1. The second is when a minus 1 is divided by a number, the result equals to the reciprocal of the number, but the sign changes. Is equal to what? The reciprocal of the number, but the sign changed. When minus 1 is divided by a number, so the result is equal to the reciprocal of the reciprocal of the number, but its sign. So that is it. When when minus 1 is divided by a number, the result is equals to the reciprocal of the number, but its sign changes. So example, minus 1 divided by 32 is equals to the reciprocal of 32, the reciprocal of 32 is 1 over 32. The sign changes to here with minus. It is plus, it becomes minus because of minus 1. So that is it. It is reciprocal of 32, but the sign changes from plus to minus. So minus 1 divided by 65. In this case, let's have minus 65. Minus 1 divided by minus 65 is equals to the reciprocal of 65. But what will happen to its sign? Its sign will change from minus to plus. So in this case, we don't put plus. So minus 1 divided by minus 65 is equals to 1 over 65. It's the reciprocal of the number, but in this case, its sign will change. It is negative, so it will become plus. It is still correct, but in this case we always emit plus, because we know 1 over 65 is equals to the same as plus 1 over 65 in mathematics. So we always don't write it if the number or fraction stand alone, or is the first fraction or number to be written. So minus 1 is divided by minus 65. The result is equals to 1 over 65. So this is also true for variables. This is true for variables. So for example, minus 1 divided by x is equals to, in this case we have the reciprocal of x, is it not? The reciprocal of x, but because x is plus here, the sign changes to minus. You can read the statement again. This is for minus 1. When minus 1 is divided by a number, the result is equals to the reciprocal of the number, but its sign changed. Minus 1 divided by x is the same as 1 over x, but here is plus, so its sign will change to minus. Minus 1 divided by minus 65, it is 1 over 60, is equals to 1 over minus 65, but because it's minus, the sign changes to plus only when it is minus 1. So this will also aid you when you are solving other higher numbers that has the same sign with 1. So it will also be affected. You have any question? So let's look at the third secret you have to know about minus 1. So the third secret is, when a number is divided by minus 1, the result equals to the number, but its sign changes. When a number is divided by minus 1, the result is equals to the number, but its sign changed. So the third thing you have to know, when a number is divided by minus 1, the result equals the number, but what will happen to it? Its sign changed. So that is it. When a number is divided by minus 1, the other one is when a 1 is divided by a number, we have a reciprocal. But in this case, although its sign will change, that is the second thing we did. So but the third one is when a number is divided by minus 1. In this case, the result is equals to the number, not the reciprocal. The result is equals to the number, but its sign changed. So example, 16 divided by minus 1 will give us what is equals to the number, which is 16. Is it not? As we say, equals, result equals to the number, but its sign changed. We have plus 16 here, so the result will be changed to minus. Is it not? It's equals to the number, but the sign changed. So it is plus. The result now will be equals to minus 16. Another is plus 18 divided by minus 1. The result will be equals to minus 18. Is it not? Minus 4 divided by minus 1. The result is minus. It will be plus 4. That is what it is all about. It's equals to the number, but then its sign changes from minus to plus when it is division by minus 1. So this is also true for variable. True for variables. It is also true for variables. Example, y divided by minus 1 is equals to minus y. Minus z divided by minus 1 is equals to plus z. So that is it. It is equals to the number or the variable, but the sign changed. So let's go to the fourth thing you have to know about the number minus 1. So I can clean here. So the fourth thing you have to know about minus 1 is adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1 decreases the value of the number by 1. This is true for what? Positive number. So the next is the fourth you have to know. Adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1 decreases the number by what? By minus 1. So it will decrease the number by minus 1. In this case, n is equals to positive number. So n is equals to what? Positive number. So let's do some example for clarification. So examples have 111 minus 1, so it will decrease by 1. That will give us 110. Adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1. So in this case, minus 1 plus 20. This is the same as plus 20 minus 1. One thing that you have to know about minus and plus in algebra is there can be interchange. The terms or numbers can interchange position. Only when it is plus and minus they can interchange position because it is close under the operation. So but when you have multiplication in the same terms, or by division, you have to follow some rules of other, maybe PEDMAS or PODMAS. But when it contains only minus plus, the terms can change position. So minus 1 plus 20 is the same as plus 20 minus 1. So adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1 decreases the number by minus 1. Decreases the number by what? By 1. It decreases the number by 1. So 110 minus 1 will give us 111 minus 1 will give us 110. Minus 1 plus 20 is the same as plus 20 minus 1. So we have what? Plus 19 or 19. So we don't usually put plus. except when we are treating direct number. So we have what? 19. Even if you write plus 19, it's still correct for beginners. So subtracting 1 from a number or adding minus 1 to a number, in this case they're adding minus 1 to this 20, is equals to what? Decreasing the number itself by 1, and that gives us plus 19. So, but this is not true for when the number is positive. So let's look when the number is positive. When the number is negative, sorry. So the next is the fifth one, adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1 increases the number by 1. So adding a number to a 1, adding minus 1 to a number or a number to a minus 1 increases the, or is equals to, the negative increase of the number by 1. So you can read it again. Adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1 is equals to the negative increase of the number by 1. In this case, n is equals to negative number. So example, we have is minus 166 minus 1 is equals to the negative increase of the number by 1. So this will give us negative increase of this number by 1. So 166 plus 1 will give us 167. So that is it. Adding minus 1 to a number or a number to minus 1 is equals to the negative increase of the number by 1. In this case, n is negative number. Negative 166 negative 1 is equals to negative 167. Negative increase of the number by 1, not positive. So another example is minus 1 minus 178. We read to what? Minus 179. Negative increase of the number by 1. This is also true for variables. This is also true for variables. Minus x minus 1 is equals to what? Negative increase, or the product of minus 1 multiplying s plus 1. You know, so you see it's a negative increase, and to be a negative increase you have to multiply by minus 1 and add the terms. You have to add 1 to the number and multiply 1 to it. So this thing here is equals to minus 1. That is the product of minus 1 and the what? 1 plus 178. So this will give us what? Minus 1 multiplying 1 plus 178 is 179. And minus 1 multiplying 179 is minus 179. So whichever way you write it, it is it is also equal to the product of the it's equal to the what? The product of increase of the number by 1 and the what? Minus 1. Or is equals to the negative increase of the number by 1. Negative increase of the number by 1. So negative 179 minus 1 minus 178 is equal to minus 179. Or is equals to the product of the increase, is equal to the product of what? Increase of the number by 1 and the what? Minus 1. So you have minus y minus 1 is minus 1 in bracket y plus 1. So it is also true for variables. Let's look at the secret you have to know about minus 1. So the sixth one is subtracting minus 1 from a number equals adding the number to 1. Subtracting minus 1 from a number is equals to what? Adding 1 to the number. Subtracting minus 1 from a number is equals to what? Adding the number to 1. So let's put it down. Subtracting minus 1 from a number equals what? Adding 1 to the number. So in this case, n is equals to positive number. Example we have here is 139. Have 139 minus 1. So you read the statement, you understand it. Subtracting minus 1 from a number equals adding 1 to the number. So in this case, we have 139 plus 1, and this will give us 140. Subtracting 1 from a number equals what? Adding 1 to the number. So 139 minus 1 is equals to 139 plus 1. This is true for positive number. So the next one is, if you have 48 minus 1, this is equals to 48 plus 1, and this gives us 49. This is also true for variables. It is also true for variables. So in this case, s minus 1 is equals to s plus 1. Y over z minus 1 is equals to y over z plus 1. So it is also true for variables. So let's look at the next one. Let's clean here. The next is subtracting a number from 1 when the number is a negative number. The result is equals to the decrease of the number by 1 and multiply the number by minus 1. So the seventh one, subtracting what? Subtracting minus 1 from a number in this case n is equals to negative number. The result is equals to the result is equals to the product of the number so let me make it very clear. So the result is equals to what? The result is equals to the product the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and the minus 1. So subtracting minus 1 from a number, in this case our number is negative number, the result is equals to the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and the what? Minus 1. So example 139, in this case you have what? 142 minus 1. Subtracting minus 1 from a number, the number in this case is a negative number, we are subtracting minus 1 from it. The result is equal to the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and minus 1. So the result is equals to minus 1 times the decrease of the number by 1. So 142 minus 1. So we have what? We have minus 1. 142 minus 1 will give us 141. And minus 1 times 141, we have minus 141. So subtracting minus 1 from a number, in this case the number is negative number, the result is equals to the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and minus 1. So let's look at the second one. Let's look at the second example. So if we are given minus 100 minus 1, minus 100 minus 1, the result is equals to what? The product of minus 1 and the decrease of the number by 1. So this will give us minus 1 times 100 minus 1 will give us 99. And we have what? And this gives us what? Minus 1 times 99 will give us minus 99. So you have seen that also this is true for variables. This is also true for variable. The statement is also true for variable. For example, minus y minus 1. This is equal to the product of minus 1 and the decrease of y by 1. And this gives us minus in bracket y minus 1. Again, if you have minus x minus 1, this is minus 1 in bracket what? S minus 1. So subtracting 1 from a number, in this case the number is positive, a negative number, the result is equals to the product of the decrease of the number by 1 and the what? Minus 1. So having gone far to this extent, so I believe that you have already know much about the secret of 0, 1 and the minus 1. So you also have to know that there is no other things which you have to know. You have already known everything. You have already known that subtracting and negative. The next is the eighth one. We have already learned every secret of minus 1, 1 and 0. So, but the eighth one is subtracting a number from minus 1. So what will happen? Subtracting a number from what? Minus 1. What happened? Subtracting a number from minus 1 is equals to the adding the number to 1 and equals to the product of what? Equals to the product of the sum of the number and 1 and what? Minus 1. Equals to the product of sum of 1 and the number. In this case, the number n is positive. In this case, n is positive and the what? And minus 1. So you can read the statement again. Subtracting a number from minus 1 is equals to the product of sum of 1 and the number and the what? Minus 1. So example, we have minus 1 minus 1 over subtracting a number from minus 1. This is equals to what? The product of what? The sum of the 1 and the number. Sum of the 1, that is 1 plus the number 1 over and the what? Minus 1. So that is what the statement is all about. Subtracting a number from minus 1. Subtracting a number from minus 1 equals to the product of sum of 1 and the number and the what? Minus 1. Sum of what? Sum of 1 and the number and the what? Minus 1. So from here, 1 plus 105 will give us 105. 104 will give us 105 times minus 1. You have what? Minus 105. So that is what it means. The second example is minus 1 minus 183 is equals to 1 plus 183 times minus 1. So from here, 1 plus 183 will give us 184 times minus 1. We have minus 184. So this is it. This is also true. Not only for a whole number, you can as well use fraction. It will also be true. For example, minus 1, have minus what? Minus 1 minus 3 over 4. This is the same as 1 plus 3 over 4 multiplying minus 1. 4 times 1 will give us 4 plus 3 will give us plus 7. So 7 over 4 times minus 1. So if you do that, you have what? Minus 7 over 4. So that is it. This is also true for variables. It is also true for variables. So minus 1 minus x is the same as what? 1 plus x times minus 1. And this will give us minus in bracket 1 plus x. So it's also true for variables. So the ninth one, before we close for today, The ninth one is subtracting a number from -1 equals what? Equals the decrease of the number by 1. In this case, n is negative number. Subtracting a number from -1 equals to the decrease equals decreasing the number by 1. So subtracting what? A number from -1 equals decreasing the number by 1. In this case, n is equals to negative number. We have done for positive. This is for negative. So, for example, -1 minus -20, -1 minus -20. This is equals to what? This will give us -1 plus 20. If you open bracket, minus directed number will give us plus. So we have 20. You can interchange terms. This is the same as plus 20 minus 1. So plus 20 minus 1 will give us what? Plus 19. So subtracting a number from -1 equals decreasing the number by what? By 1. When n is what? When the number is negative number. So let's apply it here. -1 minus -14 is equals to decreasing the number by 1, which is 14 minus 1, and that gives us what? 15. That's give us 13. That's give us 13. If you are to read the rule, so -1 minus 4 is equals to 4 minus 1. That gives us 3. So subtracting a number from -1 equals decreasing the number by 1. Any question?